Hello and welcome back to part 12 of this tutorial series. In this part I will show you or go through the most used or most common used classes in this game, explain a little bit about them and then what you usually like do or modify with them. So I started up Unreal ED, and on the right side there's the actor window. What I usually like to do is just untick those two options so all available or loaded classes are shown. That way, like nothing is hidden or obscured. So if you're familiar with Unreal Engine or the old Unreal Engines, on top of everything is the object, which is like the base class of everything. If you're curious or interested in what it looks like, you can right click on it and edit script, and it will show the Unreal script part of the class, in this case the object, and it basically just contains like every fundamental operations or functions what you would use in a game or like in a program, like operands and mathematical operations, stuff like that. So nothing really like specific to this game. Um, One level down, there are like a lot of classes. Most of them are linked to the native side of this game, the C++ part. So it's um, not really everyday use, or you're not really commonly using those classes. There are like some for special cases, but for the most part they are just like not your daily work. Although some or a few are in this sort of level. The first one being the cheat manager, which is like the like where all the cheats for the single player part is stored, so you can like look them up or like see how they work. Um, the next thing would be damage types. If you would like to like create or change certain damage types, you can like always double click on the class to open up the properties window and then change the stuff to your needs. In this case, you can change the text being displayed or any other values. For most part, they are self-explanatory. Damage variance is basically a sort of like a class or property defining which type of damage is effective or ineffective to the class being applied. For example, if you go to droids are made of metal, and usually the property of the droids are set to that like normal projectile weapons like the shotgun or the Trento SMG is not really effective to this damage variance, whereas like energy weapons or explosives are very effective to this sort of damage variance. In this case, a droid. So if you would like to like create a new damage variance or just change things up on what type of like weapon is effective or ineffective to certain pawns or damage variants, you can do that in here. The next thing you might want to work or change are the footstep, or is a footstep info. This essentially just holds the information on which footsteps sound to play for each class, like the battle droid or the clone troopers or whatever. And for the most part, all the other classes in here are like special cases where you not necessarily work on them like every day or without any special requirement or need. So we'll just skip over them. The next, any other gameplay class is stored inside the actor class. So the actor is just like the parent of all major gameplay, mechanic, and code. So expanding the actor, you will see um, a shitload of other stuff. For example, the accessory class, which holds all the subclasses for the accessories or the parts, the body parts you can shoot off the enemies or the pawns or whatever. For example, if you like shoot off the left arm of the super battle droid, or like the battle droid explodes into its own parts, into the subparts, all those stuff is stored inside here with variant properties being applied to like effects and other stuff. So the next one, AI script, I already explained it in the previous video, where you use scripted triggers to chain certain actions or events together. There are like also scripted sequences and AI scripts for like certain pawn specific actions, which will be covered in the future. The next class is the controller class. It's split into like two, I guess you could say, major classes: the AI controller and the player controller. The AI controller is used for like the bots, the bots you will use in single player, and as you can see, like all pawn classes got their own controller, so you can like specify certain bot type behavior to a certain class. In case you would like to create a new bot or change things up, you would typically do it here. The player controller is essentially the controller, or the I guess you could say the interface to the like the real player, although not to be confused with the player input or the interaction class, the extended console. The player controller is, I guess, one of the largest classes, which like essentially holds the majority of code or function when it comes to player behavior. And if you're familiar with programming, you can like read things up. And there's like a subclass, the T player and MP player. The MP player is being used for multiplayer. Next thing is, I guess, the factory. I already used it in a previous video, where you can like spawn pawns out of a specific point, or like from a droid dispenser or whatever. There's like also effect and projectile and projector factories, which basically do the same to their respective class. And HUD is self-explanatory. It's like the graphical interface on your screen. You got your CT HUD, which is used for single player, and then MP HUD and all those subclasses for each multiplayer game mode. The info class stores a lot of info regarding the game or the game type being played. Typically, going down into info, game info, there we see all the default game modes inside the game. So if you would like to create a custom game mode like a co-op or like any other multiplayer game mode, you would typically do it here. And what's else? Mutator is just like a sort of like, if you're familiar with other Unreal Engine games, specifically Unreal Tournament, where you can load up a mutator from a server, which changes the gameplay to a certain lightweight degree, like, I don't know, changing the gravity or like weapon behavior or whatever. A replication info is the class where all gameplay relevant info is stored regarding like player name, player kills, player deaths, whatever. Essentially just holding information about a player, whether it's like a remote player on the internet or your local player inside the single player game. And I guess the zone info, I already covered it in the previous videos, just like for handling certain information about zones inside a level. Going up, you will see inventory. Inventory holds two sort of classes or groups, I would say. First being the ammunition and second being the weapon. If you would like to, I don't know, change weapon behavior or create a new weapon or whatever, you would typically do it here, although it's kind of getting a little bit confusing because the weapon class is the thing or is the actor you as a pawn hold inside your hands, as the name implies. So, for example, it's like the blaster. You can open up the properties and then change various properties. For example, in the weapon subcategory, you can change like a lot. Majority of them are just self-explanatory. If you don't know what a specific property does, you can always like look up it in the script and hope that it's somewhat explained in the comments. But like for the most part, they are all explained. But if you're unlucky and it's like there's no comment about the variable or the function, if you're familiar with programming, you can easily like look it up and understand what it actually does. So yeah, the weapon is the weapon you hold in your hands. Ammunition is something else, not to be confused with like the ammunition you find on the ground, which you can pick up. That's like something else again. Ammunition is essentially just I could say, or I would say, like somewhat linked to the weapon or subclass of the weapon. Is just like the ammunition you shoot, and the ammunition holds its own properties. Like if you look it up. Like the damage, what type of effect it's being played, the max ammo, and all sorts of stuff. But it's just important that you keep in mind that the ammunition is like not the ammunition or the things you pick up from the ground. It's like something else. Going one up, there's like the inventory attachment, which is like the weapon or the static mesh you see holding in your hands. Like, how do I explain it? So when you are like looking at the battle droid is holding a battle droid blaster. This battle droid blaster is like an attachment to the pawn. It's the battle droid blaster attachment. Usually, this is only required if you want to see the weapon from on another pawn, because you don't need the attachment for your weapon, because the attachment or your player pawn is invisible in first person anyway. So the weapon is like the weapon you see in first person, and the inventory attachment is like the actual weapon you see on another pawn, like outside your first person view. Moving down, key points, not really that important. Menu is like where all the menus are getting stored, although it's kind of fucked up because they are not sorted in any particular way, so it's kind of annoying. Navigation point, I guess, yeah, like from the previous videos, there's a player start and other things. The pawn holds like all like pawns you can use in the game. They are split into their respective categories. The droids, Republic, being the clone troopers and whatnot and whatever. If you would like to change things there, like to apply the change to every pawn being spawned in the map, you would do that here. So pickup is like where we talked earlier about the weapon. being picked up. This is like the pickup which lays around in the map, and you can press F or whatever to pick it up. This is like sort of like quote unquote the ammunition part, although it's just defined as a pickup. So if we would like to build a map and just place some pickups for the player to pick up, you would do it here. And again, you can open up the properties and then like change all the stuff to your needs. And again, all those things are linked up. For example, in the pickup category, there's like an inventory type, which is linked to the DC-17M blaster from the inventory. So if we go up again to the inventory, weapon, there we go, and here's like the DC-17M blaster. And if we go to the inventory subcategory, you will see like there's like a dropped pickup class in case, like for example in multiplayer, when you die, this weapon pickup gets dropped, which is essentially this again. So they are linked in both ways, and so on. Moving on, projectiles is also like a part of the weapon. It's like as the name implies, it's the projectile you fire, which moves in real time inside the level. And there you can also change up the properties, like for the most part, like how they look like you can change the color, the effect, and whatsoever. So just to recap, the inventory, ammunition, weapon, pickup, and projectiles are somewhat linked to each other. What I usually like to do or remind myself is pickup is the stuff you can actually pick up in a level, whether it's like the weapon or the ammunition or grenade boxes. The weapon is like the weapon you hold in your hand as the first person, like as the actual player. The ammunition is like the ammo you're just about to shoot, or you're shooting from your weapon, and the projectile is just a physical projectile in the level moving in real time. And the inventory attachment is just like the weapon from another person's view on your pawn. So, what else do we have? Triggers. Yeah, I already mentioned them in the previous video several times. Activate items like doors, backdoor dispensers, terminals, or whatever. And yeah, that's like the most commonly like used or classes which we are about to be working on. There's like a lot of classes I didn't explain or like mentioned. I mean, for the most part, you can just look them up either in the properties window or the like the unrestricted part. Moving on, how do I create like a new class? You might think is, for example, I select the controller. I want a subclass of the controller. You might think that clicking on new or new from selection will create a new class from this selection. In fact, you would be correct, but the disadvantage of this is that you don't have the unrestricted part in it. So it would just create a new class without any scripts in it. Like you could just change the properties of the parent class, but you cannot add program code to it. So there are like several ways on how to do that. First of all, I will show the easy way on how to do that. Going back to our game folder, into the root folder of the game, what the game data and install folders are. What you want to do is like right click, create a new folder and name it code. So it just looks like that. Going back to the Unreal IDE. Next, you just go to File and then Export all scripts. Hit yes. Wait a bit. We can go back to our folder. As you can see, the Unreal IDE is still in progress. What it essentially does is just exports all Unreal scripts like to the separate files. Like that way you can like easily look it up in like Notepad++ or whatever. Yeah, so I guess it's done. So you can just go to your, for example, CT games and then the classes, and you can just look it up. For example, FX Factory, and you can look it up in the Notepad or whatever. And how to create a new class is relatively simple. Just create a new folder. Just call it like test actor. Inside, go into your new created folder, create a new folder called classes. And inside there, just create a new text file called whatever you would like to, like testactor.uc. And open up it with Notepad++ or whatever. And then I guess that part just requires some basic programming knowledge, or at least like some basic Unreal script knowledge. So I just keep it short. So it's just like class test actor extends actor, and I would just make a simple post begin play function, which just writes this to the console or whatever. So when you're done creating your class, by the way, this is like also how you like create a class which is linked to the native side of this game. Like if you want to communicate between Unreal Script and the C++ part, but this is like out of scope for this video. So anyway, when you're done with your class, go back to your game data system folder, and you should have the UCC exe from like the previous videos where I explained like what type of fixes and other programs you should download. It usually comes like with an additional INI file. Open up with like Notepad. Let me look it up. Where is it? Yeah, so usually what I like to do is create a shortcut of this UCC exe, like create a shortcut, name it or whatever you want. I usually name it UCC make, and at the target parameter just add the make commandlet, and then the ini followed by the ini file name. So in this case it's space make space ini equals ucc.ini to specify that this program should use the specified ini file, the config file, and the make being the commandlet to compile changed or our newly created class. So when it's done, go back again to your like ini file. Where was it? Okay, so I guess the easiest way would be just to search for added packages hit Control F and then search for edit packages. This part is where you add the changed or the new created classes to the list to recompile or just compile from the beginning. So in this case, I just created what was it? Test actor. Test actor. So the new class is called test actor. And by the way, the semicolon the semicolon implies that the line is not being read by the program. It's just like the double slash in C++ or any other language. Like it just like ignores those lines with the semicolon. So edit packages and then our newly created class. Hit save and close it, and then you can like hit the new shortcut you created with the parameters like the make ones. I guess it was a little bit short because the console app closes. Let me show you again. So I just execute UCC make ini equals ucc.ini. And as you can see, the new class got compiled. Like if you would have like errors in your code, it should be displayed here with the accordingly faulty line. The new class gets stored in the system folder. So if we're going to look it up, there we go. We have our test actor. So you can just like change the code, hit compile, and then just boot the game up, and like no need to move the files around or whatever. And yeah, this is just like how you can like relatively easily create a new class for this game. Before, like in the old days, before, like okay, let me tell you some trivia knowledge. In the old days, before we had the UCC application, in order to create a new class with a script, what you would have to do is create a new room, a new like new brush. Let's say I want a new pickup, for example. I would like select the parent class. Yeah, that's let me check. Abstract. Not placeable. A stupid example. Okay. So in the old days, what you have to do is place the parent class in inside the brush and make sure it's selected. Then from there you can like right click and then 1 second. I guess yeah, you can just hit new, specify the package name and the new class, and this way you would like create a like a new class of the specified parent class with the script associated with it. As my previous demonstration failed, the issue with this like method is not every class can be placed inside a level. That was like I guess the big hurdle or the issue in the old days. There are like several workarounds, for example, changing like creating a subclass of another class and then opening the package up in like hex editor, changing the class name to another class name or whatever. So there are ways to create a class on each parent class, but with the UCC application, it's like much easier, and you don't have to fiddle around with like hex editing certain sprites inside the package. So yeah, I guess yeah, that's like on how to like create new classes with UCC and the most commonly used classes.